This is Artificial Fear by Orlando Brew. Chapter 5, Revival. The firemen pushed past Angel and Nastus single file, their gray fire guns pointed up and away from each other. One by one, they rounded the turn of the stairs and disappeared into the smoke still rising from the basement. Angel recognized Habeas, the fire chief, by his blue helmet. He was the last of the 7 yellow-clad men to march into the smoke without hesitation. Nastus went down a few steps tentatively. "I think it's cooling off." "What if there's another explosion?" Angel said. Nastus returned to his place at the top of the stairs. "I don't think it was Polar. Thinking he would have leveled the whole building." "Maybe." A fireman appeared around the turn, his gear jouncing about as he jogged up the stairs to where they waited. It was a grunt, a black helmet, his fire gun resting across his shoulder as he pulled his oxygen mask low enough so they could hear him. "Basement's gone," he reported, "but there's no fire left." "And the androids?" Angel said. "2 are up. 1 is down." "How down?" Nastus cut in. "I think it's Officer Watson. I can't tell because they're both melted pretty bad. He's not moving, though," the fireman said. Neither of the officers spoke. The grunt waited a moment more, then replaced his oxygen masks on his face and marched back down to the basement. Angel bit her bottom lip, which tasted terrible from the soot, and looked at Nastus. The black man lowered his automatic weapon and tried to take a deep breath and coughed. They waited at the head of the steps for what felt like forever. After a while, Chris showed up with an oxygen mask over the lower half of her face, her pistol still in hand. "It's okay," Angel told her. "No Polar." Chris holstered her pistol. "Who was it then?" she said. "They're still down there," Angel said. "But one of our androids is down." "Brax?" Chris said, suddenly very concerned. "Guy said it was Watson." "Oh no, that's terrible," Chris said, and looked down the stairway. The walls furthest down to the turn of the stairs were blackened, not dirty black, but a scorched black. The black that meant anyone who had been standing would have been burned up in the explosion. With the reddening light of day coming through the half-open shutters of the building, the stairway looked like it could have shown up in any number of Bibles discussing the descent to hell. "Chris, you okay?" Nastus said. "Yeah, I'm fine. Just breathed in some smoke. What about you? You were in the building, right?" "I had the door closed. Not that I ain't feeling some burn in my lungs. I feel like I smoked some cigarettes, like all of them." He coughed, as if for emphasis. Chris started to take off her mask, but Nastus stopped her hand. "No, dear. My lungs are already shot. Let's keep yours clear." She reluctantly complied, looking at Angel as if for some assistance in the matter. "Nastus, maybe you should get checked out. Are the medics out front, Chris?" Angel said. Chris seemed to agree with this idea. "I'm fine. I ain't leaving till they bring them up, Angel. You know that." She could see in his eyes that there really was no use pushing it. Nastus had made his decision to stay, and not even Polar himself could convince him otherwise. When Caleb arrived, she would tell him to get Nastus out of there. By that time, maybe the man would go. "It's Brax," Chris said. The battle android moved slowly, undamaged it seemed, but cautious with his cargo. It was Watson. Angel could tell by the darker brown of the hair left on his head. Max's hair was a lighter brown. Watson hung limply across Brax's arms, bits of metal showing through his melted skin. Brax's eyes were aglow in a way that Angel had never seen, and it scared her. She took a step back. The battle android took every step slowly, his upper body even and steady as he progressed. His plasteel shell was darkened but otherwise unscathed. It looked as if all he had received was a tan and the same destruction that had melted his fellow androids. Max followed Brax in a sorrier state, the fire chief not far behind him. Max was burned up pretty bad, but moved like a man unharmed, even as the skin dangled loosely from his fingertips and face. Angel didn't speak. She waited for them to get to the top of the stairs for that. "You okay, Brax?" "Operational. Watson needs some work. There was a deep timbre to the voice beyond its normal metallic nature. "What about you?" Angel asked Max. "Skin needs to grow back. I'll be fine." Max looked at no one as he spoke. It made Angel wonder if his programmer had written guilt into his systems, because it was written all over him. "Angel baby, you certainly have no basement anymore." Habeas had removed his oxygen mask by now to reveal his tanned face and heavy brown mustache. "I suppose we're lucky the planet didn't blow up, the way they got all this shit hooked up, but that don't change the fact you have no basement. Right, Max?" The android nodded and left the circle they had formed to stand by the hallway to the lounge. "That bad, huh?" Angel said. "Well, let me put it like this. If you were looking to remodel, now would be the time, because there isn't shit down there but rubble." Habeas spoke with a jubilant tone, as if the whole situation had been really quite amusing and not a dangerous event. "My man Brack says they dropped a power cell down there by accident. Went off like a fucking super grenade." "Thank God," Nestus said. "What?" Chris said. "Better a grenade than polar," he explained. "Yeah, I heard about your troubles," Habeas said. "Damn shame's all I can say. But my own Brax is standing, right?" He playfully punched Brax's good arm and chuckled. "When that polar shows up, you're going to take him down. My money's on it." "Brax, how damaged is Watson?" Angel finally got to ask when Habeas shut up. "I cannot say for sure. He was offline for a time, and I am not sure if he fully powered down. If he did, we can expect full memory loss and possible program damage. If he did not fully power down, then any damages can be repaired. His data may just get scrambled." "Why did you drop a power cell?" Angel asked finally, looking from Max to Brax, the two looking at each other. "I was transferring a war cell to Watson. I lost hold of the normal cell when I was putting it away," Brax reported quickly. "It wasn't fully powered, was it?" Nastus scratched his nose as he asked the question. "No," Brax replied. "Meaning?" Angel inquired. "Meaning," Nastus coughed and put his hand to his mouth, "the difference between losing the basement and the building." He started coughing again and left the circle, hunching over as he stepped away. "Chris, make sure he sees the medic," Angel ordered, not taking her eyes off of Brax. Chris went off to follow Nastus, vanishing past the periphery of Angel's vision. "Brax, maybe you should put him down, say in the lounge for now." Brax complied, without reply, carrying Watson down the hallway steadily. "My boys are digging around down there just to make sure it's okay, but I got a feeling the area's sound for now," Habeas started. "Y'all might want to relocate for a while, though, till the air cleans out a little more." He stuck his tongue out as if he was tasting the air, then rocked his head from side to side. "Air don't seem too bad, but it's not exactly good for you either." "It was my fault," Max declared. Angel and Chief Habeas turned on Max in astonishment. "It was also mine then," Brax countered, returning from the lounge. "No, Angel. I scared him and he dropped the cell. It was my fault. I didn't know what they were doing down there, so I busted through the door." Max looked out at reception, his partially melted brows trying to crease in dejection. "Well," was all Habeas said. Angel seconded the statement. "If I were not so faulty, I would not have been scared by Max. The blame is mine." Brax's voice had lost its darker timbre. Angel, being the officer in charge at this time, looked from one android to the other, blame floating in the air between them, and prayed that Caleb would show up soon. Instead, Nastus returned. "Max, you fucking asshole! How many times I tell you that boo-ah shit was gonna fuck something up?" Then Nastus coughed and held an oxygen mask to his face. Chris floated not far behind him, eyes wide. "I'm sorry," Max said. "Now fuck that! You could have killed Watson and Brax. Hell, a little more power in that cell, and you could have killed me. You know what they do to androids that kill humans, huh?" Nastus returned his oxygen mask to his face, his other hand still holding his automatic weapon. "Back off," Angel cut in. "Chris, take him back outside." Nastus glared at Angel, then went, Chris prodding him along. She turned for a moment to look back at Max and Angel, then continued on, leading Nastus out the front door. I didn't mean for this, Max said in no particular direction. It is my fault as well, Brax added. Both of you. Angel pointed at the two of them. Shut it. Habeas stifled a chuckle. She glowered at him, and he laughed outright. Habeas removed his dirty blue helmet and pushed his sweaty brown hair back. Don't you look at me that way. I got jurisdiction on a fire scene. I'll kick you out. So point them eyes back at the cause of your calamity. There was a bustle from the lobby, and Caleb appeared in the doorway a moment later, flanked by Joshua and Dane, weapons drawn. The fuck is going on here, Angel? Nasta says that Max blew up the basement? Caleb was wild-eyed and anxious. He hadn't slept enough. She could tell right off. I jumped out. I scared him. He dropped a power cell, Max said to Caleb. So yes, I did blow up the basement. Dane pointed his automatic weapon at Max, glancing at Caleb for counsel. Joshua just looked confused. Caleb stared at Max for a long time, and no one spoke. Max, Caleb slid his gun away and crossed his arms across his chest. Polar is coming here to destroy us. And you blew up the basement? Watson might be damaged, Angel added. She felt bad laying it out on top of the basement's demolition, but the facts had to be addressed with some haste. Polar would be arriving tomorrow. You couldn't have picked a better time to screw us all over, Joshua said. That's impressive. Craftsmanship even. You can't learn that. You're born with it. Or in your case, built with it. Shit, Max. He pulled off his knit cap in a flurry and holstered his pistol, eyes fixed on the floor. It was my fault as well. If I had not been so faulty, he would not have scared me, Brax said. Brax, go to wherever Watson is and make him work. Wait there for me to get you. Got it? Angel had never heard Caleb's voice so harsh before. He was angrier than she had ever seen him. The battle android turned away from them and retreated down the corridor to the lounge. Dane, lower your weapon, Caleb said matter-of-factly. Max, go upstairs to my office and wait for me. Yes, sir. Max moved rapidly to the stairs and hustled up them two at a time. Angel couldn't blame him, though. It was simple physics. Diffusion from a place of high tension to a place of lower tension. Max was just about propelled up the stairs the way she saw it. This complicates things, Dane said timidly when Max was gone. Joshua sat down on the stairs with a groan and slipped his knit hat back over his short hair. Are you okay, Angel? Caleb moved in close to her, and though a part of her wanted to move away, she let him come close. Ears are ringing, but I'm okay. Good. He touched her arm and let go a long breath, his eyes closing for a moment. She could smell his morning breath. He hadn't brushed his teeth yet. Looking on him, she could tell that Caleb needed to get more sleep. He would be useless otherwise. At this point, though, there was no way anyone was going to get him to relax. He went away for the night, and the androids blew up the basement. No doubt he was afraid that if he shut his eyes again, something else might go wrong. She knew all too well how he thought. Caleb, the basement's a goner, I'm afraid, Habeas said. Caleb turned from her to the fire chief and crossed his arms again. Any damage to the foundation? My men are looking around right now, but honestly, I think it's just in the air in here that's bad. You got bigger problems, though. One of Habeas's thick brown eyebrows arced and the other straightened out. And then some, Caleb said. Angel turned away as he looked at her. Caleb had not felt like this in a long time. He closed the door of the officer's lounge and locked it. I'm ready to have that talk now, Brax. Caleb slid a chair by the couch and sat down. Watson's body lay across the couch, partially covered by green rags. If he had not been an android, it would have been a corpse lying there. Caleb tried not to look directly at the body. It only made him angrier. Brax was examining Watson's head closely, turning it slightly to look around the back of it. When he rested Watson's head back down, there were pieces of Watson's skin rubbed off on Brax's fingertips. He will recover, though I am not sure of his memory. Meaning? I attempted to patch into his systems and found that a large chunk of his memory file is locked. This may be because of a failsafe protecting it from disruption, in which case it will unlock in time. Or it may have been cut off permanently. If the latter is the case, he will most likely be starting from his base programming. I cannot explore more till he comes back online and gives me access. Caleb groaned and rubbed his eyes with his fingers. Max did this? I should not have dropped the cell, Brax said. But you did, Brax, and it was because of him. And if we didn't have enough problems already... I believe this was my fault, Brax said firmly. So what? Frankly, Brax, this whole fucking situation of ours is your fault. And it's worsened by the fact that you aren't even going to be of any help getting us out of it. I hate to be so blunt, even to an android, but it's early and someone just blew up my station's basement. Do you realize I've only been in charge for like a day? Caleb took a deep breath and rubbed his eyes with the palms this time. West, Brax said. Caleb couldn't think of anything to say at this point. His eyes drifted to the floor. West, you are human, so you must understand what fear is. You were created with it. It took me 80 years to discover fear, and another 10 to understand it. Now that I have, I do not know how humans can go on so hazardously. I am afraid of dying. So am I, Brax. I bet you Watson was too. But he was going to fight Polar for the chance to survive. You? What are you doing? Brax's head twitched, and the red eyes dimmed. Oh, fuck it. That specialist is going to take care of everything, right? March right in here and put Polar down like an old rust bucket. Yep. Caleb got up. Make sure he wakes up. He started to leave. West, Brax said. What? He kept his eyes on the door, but paused. Do you understand the fear I feel? Polar tore me apart, literally. Up to that time, I had never lost. And since him, I have never won. Doesn't mean you give up, Caleb told him. He left the lounge to find Joshua and Angel waiting for him in the hallway outside. The shadows of her face were accented by the soot still soiling her skin. Caleb touched the small of her back as he neared her, just to feel her. She tried to smile at him, but her lips only nearly managed it. You need to go to sleep, she said. He laughed, but she said, I'm serious. I'll sleep in a few days. Joshua, where'd Habeas go? Back down to talk to his guys. Said he'd be back up in a while, Joshua said. Okay, don't let him leave. I'm going upstairs to talk to Max. Don't shoot him, Joshua advised. And why would you think I would do that? Because I would, and I'm not even the chief. Yeah, well, maybe a few gunshots will do him some good. Caleb slipped past Angel and Joshua and yawned as he got to the stairwell. For a moment, he glanced at the stairs going down and ground his teeth. Max sat up straight in the chair, staring off at nothing as he waited before Caleb's desk. His hair was missing in places, and a great deal of his clothing was gone. A battle harness clung tightly around his upper body, and was in fact the only thing in perfect condition on his person. Caleb paused at the doorway of his office and leaned against the door frame to observe the android. Max's service pistol had been placed on the further side of the desk from him, with the ammunition clip removed beside it. Is that you telling me something? Caleb said, coming into the room. I thought it would make this go by more quickly for you. Max's face was in better shape than Watson's. He even seemed to have some eyebrows left over those artificial blue eyes. No, nothing's going to make this go by faster. Caleb slid the ammunition clip back into the large chrome pistol and tossed it to Max. You see, it pains me to say this, but I need you here. Oh, I would love to send you away. Or, right now, even have you destroyed. But the fact remains that Polar is on his way here, and I need everyone I can get. But you have no idea how angry I am with you. Caleb finally sat down and rubbed the bridge of his nose. He wanted to hit the android, slap some sense in him, if it wouldn't have broken his hand to do it. I am a liability, Caleb. Don't tell me what you are. I know. But, from this point on, you don't get to say what you think you are and are not. You hurt one of my men and my station. You have Polar to thank for not having your head removed, because he's going to do it for me when he gets here. Caleb took a long breath. You know, if this were Earth, there wouldn't even be a question. You would have been destroyed before noon and replaced with a better model. Then do it, Max said. No. You don't get off that easy. We're all in hell here, and you're not leaving just when it's getting good. The window shutters had been half opened, only letting in some of Rajin's rising light. The red glow made Max look more like a burn victim than a partially melted android. From this point on, you are mine. Got that? You do what I say when I say it. And when Watson wakes up, you apologize for blowing him up. Got that? Max nodded. He just looked so torn apart sitting there, the way the skin was missing in places and was warped and bubbled in others. What are you thinking? Caleb asked. I didn't mean to hurt anyone. You have to know that. I hold you all in a very high regard. It was an accident. He almost sounded human as he spoke, the hurt in his voice. He wasn't reporting, he was pleading. Androids were not generally supposed to that, but Caleb kept his expression grim. Was that why they had sent him to Ranon? He would have to check the records sometime and find out just what the story was, because everyone had a story here. You know, I shot 4 minors once, Max, Caleb found himself saying. I think it was an accident. One of them had a gun, and my partner and me chased them down an alley. There was a shot, and my partner went down. So I started firing. Hell, I didn't know what was going down when I got the first kid. After the second and third, I was pretty aware of what I was doing. All that adrenaline. Last kid didn't have the gun. Wasn't armed. I think he may have even raised his hands. So I can't explain why I shot him, but I think it was an accident. My partner was pronounced dead about 20 minutes later. I got sent here. I know what an accident is. As angry as I am, I know you didn't mean to blow up the fucking basement, but you did. Now you have to live with the consequences. So I'm not going to have you destroyed. I'm going to put you to work. When Polar gets here, you'll be the first to greet him. Caleb's hands were shaking, so he pressed them down on his lap. He didn't like to think about the past, but for some reason it seemed reasonable right now. All of this is one big accident. Do you know why I'm here? Max looked at the service pistol in his hands. Caleb's curiosity was piqued. I killed my partner. He was an android, so it didn't carry that much weight. But it was a disgrace for my station. It was a lot of bad publicity, because I screwed up. I missed my target, and I hit my partner. They called it a glitch. I always screw up. You'd think it was part of my programming. I mean, I was designed to act human, so other androids wouldn't pick up that I was one too. Made it easier to hunt them. But all I do is mess up and hurt the people on my side. I have the worst arrest record in android history. And they put me here. It was cheaper. Max smoothed a piece of skin down across his knuckles, pressing down to hold it there. I only scared him because he was bigger than me. It was entertaining to see him jump. Show me you can get this right, Max, Caleb said. Max looked up at Caleb then, dead into his eyes. I'll fight. I always meant to. But now you have to, Caleb added. The phone rang, breaking the tension through redirection. Caleb picked up the receiver and switched it on. Caleb? Janie's voice fell out of the phone. Janie, are you okay? He could feel Max's attention on him. His expression must have changed so completely that the android was alarmed. Not really, Caleb said quietly. I heard there was an explosion at the station. What happened? Just an accident. A lot of them going around. He drained the emotion from his voice. What does that mean? Janie said. He could just imagine her shoulders tightening as her tone became defensive. Max got up and started to leave, but Caleb fixed him with a finger to sit. The android quickly sat down. It means whatever it means, Caleb said to her. When are you coming home? I want to talk about last night, Janie said, some of her defense sliding off. I don't think I am. No, actually, I'm sure that I'm not coming home tonight. Caleb looked away from Max to the half-shuttered windows and felt a weight drop in his stomach. Janie was silent. I don't want to talk. I don't want to see you. This is not going to work. Caleb turned his seat around on the pivot to face away from Max. I came back. You're just going to fuck it all away now? Janie said, getting louder. Okay, Max, wait outside and close the door, he said, not looking back. Caleb realized that there was going to be some shouting, and he didn't think the android had any business witnessing it. You just end it like that? I come back from across the fucking galaxy to be with you, and you just decide not to come home one night? Is it because of that little cop bitch you're doing? You want to be with her now? Her volume was increasing as her words became smaller. He could hold the phone several inches from his ear and still hear her too well. Oh, you have no right to play the victim, he started off with a good yell. You left me first for that engineer. What did he design, toilets? You left me a note and went off to be rich and happy. What? Did you think I was going to wait around till he got bored with you and sent you back to your husband? Oh, wait, I paid for your trip back, didn't I? Because he left you on Kowloon with nothing but a suitcase full of dirty laundry. Shut up, shut up, shut up! I could have gone back to my parents, but I called you. I don't even want to talk about this, Caleb said, almost realizing it as he spoke it. My mind is made up. You're not going to guilt me into having another argument. You can have the apartment. I'll send someone to get my shit. No, wait. Don't go. Let's talk about this. We can work. He switched off the phone and turned his chair around. Through the partially cracked window off his office door, he could see Max watching him. Hey, Max. The android came back into the room and returned to his seat before the desk. Caleb was beyond anger now. His stomach felt like it had no bottom and that he could go a month without eating. He wiped a layer of sweat off his brow and with the back of his hand holding the phone, then set the phone down on its cradle. Back home, we used to call it maximum velocity when a man got to a point where he didn't give a shit no more and was beyond being tired or hungry or anything, Caleb said. I think I'm on the approach. He stood up and went to the window, looking between the shutters at the fire engines hovering downstairs above the street. Caleb, are you okay? Max asked. The burn victim was asking him if he was okay. I have something for you to do, Max. I want you to go to my apartment and find the long brown box under the bed. Grab whatever clothes you see of mine, throw them at anything, and bring them here with the box. If my Janie gives you any troubles, tell her you are on strict police business and have authority to shoot her. His hands were shaking more now, and he no longer felt tired, but that would only last so long. He refused to let her depress him, not after all that had happened. He had more important issues today. And if she does get in my way? Well, I guess you can't shoot her, can you? Caleb smiled to himself. I don't know. Lock her in the closet if you have to. Just get that stuff and get back here. No problem. Max left the room. Having something to do seemed to cheer him up, or maybe it was knowing that he wasn't going to be destroyed for his behavior. Caleb sighed and closed his eyes. He didn't like the way things were going, and he felt like any minute he would lose all control unless he held on to the reins tighter, held on to himself tighter. What a day, Caleb, you fucking asshole. There was a crowd of people collected in front of the Quadrant 12 police station, watching the firemen march in and out of the building. Nothing had blown up in a while. Nastus coughed heavily, and Angel put her hand on his back. She wasn't sure how that might help, but it always seemed like the right thing to do. Perhaps a silent statement of commiseration. He acknowledged it and wiped spittle from his lips. They were sitting on the curb by the stairs, waiting for someone to bring Nastus and Chris to the hospital to get checked out, though the task seemed to rank low with the firemen. A medic had come over a few times, then left when an elderly man was reported having had a heart attack down the street. They just sat there now in the red light of the day, Nastus occasionally glancing at his watch. Dane came out of the station with his automatic slung across his back and crouched down on the street before the three of them. How y'all feeling? He said. Chris coughed, and Nastus shook his head. Could have been worse, Angel said. Could have been polar, Dane agreed. Dane looked over their shoulders to the station, and his expression darkened. Angel glanced over and saw Max, dressed in a new black police shirt, drab pants, and his blue battle harness pulled over it, coming out of the station. Though his clothes had been changed, he still bore the damage inflicted in the explosion. The skin was still hanging off his fingers and face like loose paper. Max went past them to where the patrol hover was parked between two hovering fire engines and started rummaging around in it. Angel watched him with interest, as did the rest of them sitting there on the curb. He pulled a gray duffel bag out of the hover and then slipped his chrome sunglasses on, the red light glaring off of them. "Guess Caleb didn't shoot him," Dane said, shaking his head. Max picked the duffel up and came over to them. "What you got there?" Nastus inquired. "Just some gear," Max told him. "What kind?" Dane said, but did not look at Max. "Android stuff." "Explosives, maybe?" Nastus' face held an innocent front. Angel just covered her face for a moment, not sure if she wanted to laugh. "No, Nastus." Max started to walk away then, but Angel reached out and grabbed his hand. The skin came off in her grip, and she let go. "Oh, come on, Max. You didn't really think anyone was going to let this go. What did Caleb say?" Max set the duffel down at his feet and looked at Angel. "He told me that when Polar got here, I would be the first to meet him," Max said. Dane and Nastus looked at Max with what looked like amused interest. "Oh," Angel said. Max shrugged and picked up his duffel again. "Where are you going?" "I have to get to Caleb's stuff from his apartment." "Why?" Angel knit her brow together. "I think he left his wife. I was there when she called. I could hear him yelling even after he sent me out of the office. Then he hung up on her and told me to get his stuff and bring it back." Angel felt strange. Nastus laughed, deep and raspy, then coughed. She turned on the black man, confusion in her eyes, then back to Max, but he was already leaving. She watched him walk away, his duffel hoisted onto his shoulder. When he turned the corner at the end of the street, she studied the bits of artificial skin he had left in her hand. "Are you okay?" Chris said, and stifled a cough as she got up and moved around to sit closer to Angel. "I don't know." Angel got up and felt all eyes following her. "I'll be right back." She left them and headed into the station, unsure of what she was doing. Joshua was standing by the stairs and slowed her with a look. "Take it easy on him. If he leaves, I'll be in charge," the man said. No smile followed, which left Angel confused as to whether it had been a joke or a warning as she went upstairs. She became very quiet in her movement as she went down the hallway to Caleb's office, the sound of a phone ringing coming from down the hall. Angel came to a halt at the doorway of the office and rested her weight against the doorframe. Caleb stood at the partly shuttered window, the red light shining through in columns across the office. The phone on the desk kept ringing, but Caleb seemed unaware. His shoulders sagged a little, and she heard him sigh. She opened her mouth to say something, then closed it. A moment later, she walked back down the hallway, the phone still ringing as she left. She felt a great desire to be with him now, so that they could console each other. But she couldn't. There was still a lot of fury in her, and she didn't know how to deal with that. He might have left his wife today, but he had still fucked her last night. Angel couldn't let the thought go, as hard as she squeezed her hands into fists. There was damage. The system was telling him as much. He knew that he was strong, and that he was not brand new, but that he was back to base programming, so he might as well be new. There was a huge gap in his operating systems, where a sizable memory load used to be. Where were his memories? Where was all that he had learned? Memory access was not there. Something had broken the connection, and the nanobites were still assessing how to rebuild the link. There was plenty of power, though. Whatever remediation was made, there was a surplus of power to do it. Till then, he had a massive hole in his operations, in his understanding. There were bits of information at the fringes of the missing data, but it was sparse. Scanning his system, He found remnants only of records and partial memories that really made no sense. A large battle android, a woman's green eyes, and a coffee machine. The coffee machine? Watson sat up quite suddenly and unleashed a surge of plasma energy from the fingertips of his battle arm that sizzled the air and virtually incinerated the coffee machine across the room from him. Watson! His targeting shifted in less than a second to the dirty chrome battle android standing at the foot of the couch where he sat. Watson, stand down. I am Brax, a fellow officer. The battle android's voice was tinged with emotion, despite the metallic ring to it, and that confused Watson. I am Watson, he said. I know. Do you have any memory? Watson let his battle arm lower, and the fingertips burned holes in the couch as they contacted. No. I suspected. I am Android Officer Brax, 6868, second class. I am Android Officer Watson, A42374, fourth class. Where am I? The light coming in through the tiny window of the room was covered in soot, and only allowed a wasted red glare to come through. If you will allow me, I have prepared an information packet containing everything you need to know for now, ready to be sent directly into your processor by brain uplink. Watson eyed the battle android suspiciously, then considered the options. Whatever danger he was in had already damaged him, and there was a whisper of data on this android officer. Though sparing, it gave the impression to Watson that Brax was someone he could trust. Okay, he agreed. Brax plugged a cable into his head, just behind the largest of his antenna array, then handed the other end to Watson. He reached up for it, then noticed the skin missing from his hand and his arm, and in fact, a lot of them. Watson looked over his body and could not recall how he had gotten so torn up. His uniform was a rag of green and black, and there was a long split down his chest. What happened to me? Watson asked the battle android. Link up and you'll know. He regarded Brax suspiciously, then examined the chrome end of the plug presented to him. The skin dangled from the plasteel casing of his fingers as he took the plug and brought it up to the right side of his head, behind where an ear should have been. There was no port for the plug, though, just soft, rubbery skin. There's no port, Watson explained. There is. It has just been buried by skin. Push. The battle android had a smaller arm on his left than his right. It was this arm that came up to demonstrate the thrusting motion Brax apparently felt Watson should shove this piece of metal into his head with. Watson looked at the plug, then back up at the other end in Brax's head. He brought the plug close to his head, then jammed it as the supposed port connection. Sparks flew, and Watson could have sworn he saw a swath of his skin fly off as his head jolted to the left. A moment later, there was a surge of data, redirected to new and yet unused storage spaces. And he knew a lot more. It kept coming, and little by little Watson found himself feeling worse and worse. The danger was apparently not over. A friend had done this to him. The data drop ended, and Watson yanked the cord out of his head, the sound of sparks trailing the plug out. So let me get this right. An android named Polar is coming here to kill and cause havoc, and I was blown up during a power cell transfer in our offices that have now been destroyed. The huge armored head nodded. The explosion was caused by Android Officer Max, F-22-87-6, 6th class. Once again, the nod. And the reason I have no memories of who I am is because my memory connections were damaged in the explosion. Nod. Okay. There's a lot here that I need to get through. You compress data very well. It is an acquired skill. I've had to run the station mainframe off my internal systems so many times that I felt it would be accommodating to acquire compression software, Brax said. Watson was picking through the data pile quickly, trying to assess the most important information to the best of his abilities. The doors of the room burst open and two men rushed in with automatic weapons in hand. Watson had his battle arm aimed on them before he knew what was going on. The targeting system split up to release plasma simultaneously on both men if needed. Watson, you're alive! the bald black man exclaimed, lowering his weapon. A moment later, Watson knew him to be Officer Nastus Cole, the other, Officer Dane DeWitt. He lowered his battle arm. Man, I thought you were toast the way Brax brought you up from the basement. But look at you. Most of the skin's already grown back around your face. The war cell allows for a higher rate of repair, Brax explained. No shit, Dane said. At this rate, be back to normal in no time. No, Brax said. No? Dane slung his weapon across his back. His memory connections were damaged. Meaning what? He has amnesia, Dane, Nastus said. All eyes seemed to concentrate on Watson, and he found that he didn't like the expressions on their faces. It was like disappointment. I'll be fine, Watson assured them, standing up. He swayed for a moment, then found his balance. Nastus seemed almost about to reach out and steady him. My memories will return when the proper connections are established. In the meantime, Brax has briefed me on everything I need to know. The door swung open again, this time admitting 3 people. Watson knew the lead man to be Chief Officer Caleb West, and the man with the mustache to his right, Detective Joshua Cale. It took him a moment to search through Brax's data to find the woman's name, but he had it soon enough. Officer Angeline Apple. Caleb walked up to Watson, smiling. He looked relieved. How you doing? He said. Damaged, but in repair, Watson replied. West, may I speak to you for a moment? Brax said. Sure. The 2 of them went to the other side of the room. Joshua took Caleb's place before Watson, a smile on his face as well, but very different from Caleb's. Watson's character assessment pegged him as a deviant, but Brax's data reported him to be a dependable officer. Hello, Watson said to him. Never ceases to amaze me, the beatings you guys can take, Joshua said. Even Max, he ain't jacked up like you or Brax, but he's still walking around in one piece. Where is Max? Watson said. Angeline took on a worried expression, but Joshua seemed unmoved by the question. Running errands, Joshua said. I'm sure he'll be thrilled to see you up and running, though. He had a sadistic tone, almost mocking, that Watson didn't appreciate. His brown eyes caught the muted red light as he examined Watson, momentarily turning a strange purple. Dane, check Watson's locker for another uniform. He seems to have damaged this one. Joshua laughed lowly, his eyes flaring for a moment, that purple searing out of the brown and back again. Dane left after a few moments, at which point Caleb and Brax returned. Everybody clear out. I want to talk to Watson. Joshua shot Watson a smile, momentarily splitting his humor, and the character assessment realigned itself accordingly. First Nastus, then Joshua and Angel, her eyes shifting from Watson to Caleb before she left. Right there, Watson could see that they were involved. That wasn't in Brax's report. Caleb pulled up a chair from the table in the middle of the room and motioned Watson to sit back down on the couch. Brax remained standing. No memory, huh? That is the dilemma, yes, Watson said. Caleb was a relatively young man, but his face was drawn by responsibility and fear. The cheekbones allowed for dark shadows, intensified by the stubble, showing a man older than his years. You can fight, though. I can fight. All systems are go. Beyond the memory break. Skin will go back in time, and in a few days I'll be back to normal. Of course, he wasn't sure quite what normal was for him. Good. Brax tells me you're a little on edge. I noticed the coffee machine, Caleb said, thumbing in that general direction. Suddenly, Watson discovered embarrassment. When I woke, there were scattered memories. Half memories, really. I thought of the coffee machine, and it incited agitation in me, to the point that I felt it needed to be dealt with. Brax made a noise like grinding metal, but Watson kept eyes on his chief. Apparently, a side effect of your new cell is a lot more aggression, possibly even intensified illogical reactions. Brax says you need to take it easy. It was easy to pick up the fear in Caleb's voice, and it made Watson worry. What exactly was Caleb afraid of? Him? The way the man talked, you almost would think he perceived Watson as human. I feel okay, really, Watson assured him. Just try not to shoot anything. Caleb was smiling, but it was only a curved line fit onto a concerned expression.